ready.
Okay. So, it's 100 years in the future. The world is an overpopulated city and there's only one forest left. Outside this forest, there's not enough food or water for everyone to live. That's where I lived until one day I ran away from home into the forest. Once I was out in the forest, I found this group of about 30 kids. They called themselves MPX. So they had enough organic food and water for them all to eat and drink. I asked them about how they were living like this, and they told me about MPX. This is where they practice sustainability and teamwork, so I decided to join them for a year. I learned a lot of skills during this year, but there was only 5 that I could share with you today. So the first one is communication. I learned how to communicate with everyone in that group. In the beginning, everyone in MPX was a stranger to me, but I started to get to know them more, and we started to get to know each other. And then I learned how to cook because cooking was vital to the community so that we could all survive. And I learned how to collaborate with everyone, how to make better visuals to document what we were doing for other MPX groups to come, and how to do things sustainably. So the first one of these points I'm going to talk about is communication. Like I said, in the beginning, we're all strangers, and towards the second semester, we began to understand the way that each other, that we think, and that we work. So no single person could have done the work that one of us could do, and altogether, that's how we accomplished what we did. So I see communication as the key to success when we were cooking, because in the kitchen, if you're just yelling at each other what to do, it's not very effective. And I see communication as a key for planning when we're trying to plan out what we're going to grow and how we're going to do everything over the year. And also for documenting what we're going to do so we can talk about how we're going to document everything, because if we're all making separate visuals, it won't be very organized. Another thing with communication is that there was 5 people and 5 different opinions, and we were all super unorganized in the beginning without our communication. We had different agendas of what we wanted to do, and different ways of doing things. So an example of this is that towards the end of the year we were making a documentary, and I had experience making videos, in documentaries like this, and so did another person in our group, and so did the documentarian, and the leader also wanted to make the documentary. So we found ourselves all fighting over this one computer to work on the documentary. So here's a picture of that. And then eventually we all just kind of walked away and just took a deep breath and just started to talk about what we wanted it to look like in the end instead of all fighting over it so we could have our ideas. And we came up with a way where I would make the intro and someone else would make the middle and then someone else would make the end and someone else would make the credits. So kind of divided up our work and conquered. Alright, so the next thing is cooking. Eating is a very important part of what our community needs to do, and we're growing our own food and making food out of our own food that we grow. So, in the beginning, I was a pretty terrible chef, and when I came to MPX, for some reason I volunteered to be the pro chef because I wanted to improve on something. And I was going to be the documentarian, but I was I've already done stuff like that before, so why not try something new and really improve on it? So like I said, I had no experience whatsoever, and I couldn't really cook anything. And then over the course of all of MPX, I learned a ton thanks to the chefs that helped me, and also my teammates, because my teammates did have some experience cooking. In the end, there was a lot of pressure for the competition. And I had to kind of deal with that because I wasn't experienced with cooking, but once I kind of just set my mind to it, I did it, and I made a dish, and I can cook now. Collaboration. We all had to collaborate with everything that we did, with growing, with cooking. So like I said earlier again, the same people the whole year. And then I found out that there was really 3 ways to be an effective team, and that was that we had to listen to each other. So if we were arguing, we could just listen to what each other was saying. And we had to respect what each other says because, and then we're going to put together your ideas to make something great. So we did this with the documentary. We did this with when we were arguing over what we were going to do for the recipe. We used all 3 of these to be an effective team, and it worked out really well for us in the end. And then how to make better visuals. So this is a skill that I was probably the most interested in through the whole MPX thing, more than cooking or teamwork. I wanted to make really nice visuals. So that includes posters, videos, infographics, and much more. So this was one of the very first infographics I ever made, and I didn't really understand the concept of how to make, a good infographic. And so mine was, I kind of just put out like bullet points of stuff that happened in this book that we were reading. And then I just kind of put it out, and I like put it in a random order and drew arrows to everything, and put in a picture that I just like got off Google Images, and I didn't write anything like by hand on here. And so that was like the first infographic, and I thought that was like A+ work. And then towards the end of the year, I made this infographic. I mean, you can't see the whole thing, but it was hand drawn first of all. This whole thing pretty much is hand drawn, and I did there was much more information, and it was more organized than the last one, I think. So I was pretty proud of that in the end. And I came up with these 5 steps to making a great visual. And so the first one is to get the right apps. There's this app called Poster, iDraw, Pic Collage. Once you have those, then you can really start to make a good visual. You have to look at a lot of examples. I looked at other people's works, or we would look at work from like the past years in MPX, and then write out a draft on paper. That usually helped me, because I didn't do that in the beginning, and towards the end I started to write out everything I was going to do. And then I would get feedback on my draft that I make and finalize the visual and actually make it, which was like the most important step. And the last one is sustainable living, because this is the main theme of MPX, and I think in 3 ways we mainly practice sustainability. The first one is this plant rehab project that we did, where we collected dead plants from all over, and we rehabilitated them back to life. And I was really proud of this, because this plant in the beginning that you see in the back, it was brown and it was like really dead during the beginning, and then it kind of turned into like this beautiful plant during the end. So we were all really proud of how our plant rehab tables turned out. The second one was food, because we're growing our own food and eating what we grew, so that's sustainable right there. And then our hydroponic systems, which is also another big theme to MPX. We built our own hydroponic system, we're growing our own food, and this is a way that we could like live in the future. So thank you guys for watching, and hopefully like the things that I taught you in this you can share with other people, and things that you learned in MPX, so that the world isn't like overpopulated and not sustainable in the end. Yeah, thank you.
Okay, questions or comments for Olivia? Questions or comments?
Yes, Shannon.
How long did it take you to do this?
Well, it took a while to come up with the creative idea, because in the very beginning I made like a slide thing like this, except it was half the length, and it was just like the facts without any creative part to it. So that was super quick, but then coming up with what the actual like story of it was going to be took like a few hours to figure that out.
Cool.
Yeah.
How long did it take you to draw the shark?
Draw the shark. Well, I was looking at like an image of a shark when I drew it, but it probably took like 30 minutes. There's just like a lot of detail. Yeah.
If you could go back and redo this project, what would you do?
I think I'd figure out more ways to incorporate the story into everything else I did, and I'd probably, like, I think a lot of the stuff, I repeated it a lot, and so I'd find more, like, bullet points.
What project did you enjoy the most out of everything we did?
Oh, that's a good one. Probably just the final cook-off and preparing for that.
Oh, okay.
I like that a lot.
Yeah, that was fun.
Great. Thank you guys.